Welcome Star Wars fans to another Order 66 video, and today we are doing our discussion video on Solo, a Star Wars story, and this is the spoilerific version of our review of Solo, the Star Wars
Spoiler alert right now. Don't get mad if you hear spoilers.
You hear spoilers. It's been like 2 weeks since the movie's out. After 2 weeks, movies are fair game. If you haven't seen them by 2 weeks, if you haven't even seen them within the first week, that's on you.
If it's a big budget movie, I'd say
especially if it's a big movie. Like Infinity War, Deadpool 2, Solo, Black Panther, Ant-Man Wasp, anything big titled like that. If you don't see it within the first week,
and then you go on the internet, it's all your fault.
That's on you at that point.
Right
especially
now,
2 weeks.
This be the third or fourth time you're going now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Should be.
Anyway, so let's get right down to it. So,
well, Alex is not usually on screen, so why don't you introduce
Hello.
yourself?
I'm Alex.
Alex is our
today.
store manager.
I'm on screen today.
We finally talked him into doing a video because he could not.
I like discussing movies, and I'll be straight up. I'm sick of Star Wars. I'm so sick of lightsabers. I'm sick of the Force, and I loved Solo. So
where have I heard that before? That almost sounds like something.
That's not how the Force works.
No, it sounds like something like a movie reviewer does, or has said in the past on screen before. It's almost like you sound like
it's almost like a lot of people share that same opinion, Bobby.
I disagree. I think Star Wars is awesome.
I didn't say everyone. I said a lot.
1,000 more years Star Wars, 1,000 more movies.
9 more seasons, Morty.
9 more seasons.
Prepare for us to argue this
forever.
They're going to get into it.
We're not.
They're best
I'm just here
friends.
so I won't get fined.
What happens every time we talk?
Yes. Nothing.
We get into it.
No.
Yes.
Sometimes.
Literally about everything.
So-
It could be about what we had for lunch yesterday. It's still arguing about.
What did I have for lunch?
So Solo.
Whatever you had, it's wrong.
Star Wars story.
So Solo.
What a
So
film.
Solo.
So the topic of the video we're doing.
All right, so let's discuss first and foremost our feelings about the movie, about the news that we had heard before the movie came out, what our impressions were going into it, what we were hoping for, so on and so forth.
Who wants to go first?
I loved it. I really liked Solo, Star Wars story. It blew past every expectation I had for the movie.
Listen, Bobby. Before we saw the movie, what were your expectations?
I'm getting to that. Okay, so I didn't really have a lot of expectations. I was excited because it was a Star Wars movie. I'm always excited to see a new Star Wars movie. But I didn't have a lot of expectations. There wasn't a lot of marketing for this film, and of course, now we know why. And we'll of course touch on that topic as well. But there just wasn't much about it. There were too many problems we had heard with the film, having 2 directors that weren't doing what they were supposed to do, getting fired, and having pretty much the majority of the film reshot late into production, no less. Plus,
Heather, let Steve know that we're filming again.
Plus, there's also Kathleen Kennedying everything up in Star Wars right now, which I don't know if you know about personally, but I'm definitely not a fan of Kathleen Kennedy.
She's like Belloc from Raiders.
She is like Belloc from Raiders.
Which she's also in charge of.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just... Gosh.
Indy 5, guys.
Yeah.
Sure to be a hit.
She
I just hope it's not Chris Pratt.
She just needs to not be in Lucasfilm
Let's hope it's not made
anymore.
That'd be nice.
I said to give her another 2-3 years, and then she's out.
Randy, there is spoilers in this, so if you're worried about spoilers,
Spoilers!
Spoilers!
Spoiler alert!
Spoilers!
Rotten Tomatoes. Spoilers.
Right now, there's spoilers. We're doing spoilers right now in this video. Did you put that in the description? Did you put
yes,
spoilers?
and Heather just pinned it to the
Okay.
comment
There's
bar.
no question.
There's no questioning, unless you can't read.
So a good point was
Why you
was
want
just
to say
brought up. Last Jedi did damage on how the Solo movie, Ron Howard somehow did an amazing job.
I was talking to Bobby about this last week. I guess we were all talking about it really. That it's done so bad in the box office. Even some of my close friends, they don't want to go see it because of how they didn't like Last Jedi, and that's going to deter tons of people. Let alone you had Deadpool 2, Infinity War, like all those great movies. And you throw Solo in there, and it's like it's not really a movie many people wanted in the first place.
It wasn't advertised.
And then it wasn't advertised, obviously. And then Last Jedi really just turned a lot of people away from it. The Star Wars community currently, I feel like, is 50-50.
Well,
not in a good spot.
Well, a lot of people are already feeling the fatigue. Bobby doesn't see it, but a lot of people are getting kind of tired of seeing the same thing happen every 30 years. So with The Last Jedi, people were already fatigued, and then you get The Last Jedi, and people are like, you know what, I'm out. I'm shutting down. I'm off.
Taking some time off.
Taking some time off. I like parts of The Last Jedi, but there are so many problems with it, and I can see why it turned people off. That coupled with Solo not being marketed very well, and all the problems it had, I can see why people are like, who cares? It's on. We already know everything. That's another thing, is we already know pretty much everything we needed to know about Han Solo.
Right.
It tells you everything you need in the dialogue in Episode 4.
How many Legends books are there that Han is the main character in? I mean, there's literally there's a trilogy called the Han Solo trilogy. There's another trilogy called the Corellian trilogy that's based around Han.
There's quite a bit.
What do you guys think about the fact that it wasn't even 6 months since Last Jedi came out and they forced this movie out? I know they were trying to get back to a May release for all the movies going forward, but everybody got so used to 3 years in a row, this December release where there's really no competition.
Well, Rogue One, for instance, they had a whole year to build up to that.
Right.
And it was exciting because it was like, oh, now we can see the Death Star, blah, blah, blah. And I feel like the hype around that kind of killed Rogue One for me a little bit. But at the same time, I was excited for it to come out. With Han Solo coming out basically right after Last Jedi, I was like, who cares? No one cares. We want to see the end of the trilogy. We don't need this filler movie. It's like a Marvel thing. It's like, here's Black Panther. It's like, okay, I'm excited for Infinity War. This just feels like...
It's filler.
It's filler. That's all it is.
I think they're really close to one another, but I really wanted to get that bad taste out of my mouth from Last Jedi as well. So it's kind of like a mix for me on how I felt about it.
Is Solo the Star Wars mouth rinse?
I'd say yeah. Now the thing is, we have to wait. Was it a year and a half?
Basically, yeah. The next movie comes out December of 19.
Yeah. So for me, it was kind of like Last Jedi. I'm just still not very happy about, and so this kind of helped with that because I hope to eventually. But I love the movie, so maybe a little more positive and optimistic about the future potentially of Star Wars.
We have a comment from Mark Brennan. It says fatigue is not the problem. Last Jedi did it. He said, "Look at Marvel. There's no fatigue." And then somebody else said, "That's Marvel Disney. They're pumping out movies too fast so they can make a quick buck."
Well, I think the thing with Marvel movies in
You're out of the
particular
frame.
is... What's up?
You're out of the frame.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think the thing with Marvel movies in particular is you always get a new character with each movie just about. In the Thor movie, Thor's doing his thing. In the Iron Man movie, Iron Man's doing this thing. In Star Wars, you have to have Imperials, lightsabers, starfighters. It has to have the same aesthetic throughout each movie.
I think we would have the same problem with Marvel if there was an Avengers movie every 6 months.
Agreed.
I mean, okay, so we had Avengers 2, and then we had, not too long after, we had Civil War. And both you and I, Alex, we're not fans of Civil War. I know a lot of people are. A lot of people love that movie.
It's good, but it also feels like filler. It just feels like we're setting
filler.
up for the next Avengers
There was
movie.
zero consequences.
Exactly.
The only consequence that we had was immediately disrupted in Infinity War. The only consequence was Rhodey got shot down, and nope, he's walking
And he
again.
immediately regrets signing on for the Sokovia Accords after.
Right.
There's even dialogue about that. So it's a little bit better with Infinity War in hindsight, but that's why I don't mind these standalone films. Like, do the seedy underbelly of Star Wars. Give Han and Lando and Boba their own movies.
Right.
We've seen a lot of them in the movies, but what did Lando do? He betrayed them, and then he blew up the Death Star. And that's about all that he does in those movies. Boba Fett gets hit in the jetpack and falls into a pit. And he's shot at Luke once. Give these characters that we don't get to see very much screen time their own movies. Stop doing these trilogies of characters that are just doing the same exact thing that these other characters have been doing. Why pass the torch if it's just going to be... Sorry, this is now a Last Jedi bashing video. We were supposed to be talking about Solo. Anywho.
Well, we talked about fatigue and stuff, and I talk to him about it all the time. It's Rogue One and Solo. I love Solo a lot. I just said, but tell the right stories. You have Star Wars, and the two stories you've chosen so far were something about Han Solo, which wasn't really wants or necessary.
No one was excited for it.
And
Okay, but how much?
Talk about
How much
the Death
of
Star
that?
plans.
How much of it do you think
Spoiler alert,
is?
they got them.
Yeah. We have the Death
That's
Star
what I'm just saying.
planets.
You have those two chances, and you choose those two stories out of everything that you could possibly put into a movie. That's what I'm saying.
How much of it is
I,
for the Solo movie? What do you think about the backlash from people from Episode 7? People were so mad that Han died, and I think we're not going to get any more Han. Not in the episodic films. So
I think a lot of it, especially with films like Rogue One and Solo, which again, even though we didn't need it or really want a Solo story, we got it and ended up enjoying it a lot.
Ended up being great.
But I think part of the reason why Disney has pushed towards these, as you call them, cookie cutter films, is they're safe bets. They're films that are going to make them money, and they're films that people are going to go see regardless, even though we know eventually the end result. There's suspense in Solo. There's the part where Chewie's about to eat a cliff when they're on the train heist in Solo, and then Han quickly just yanks him out of the way. But there's suspense. You're like, oh my gosh, is Chewie going to eat it? Well, in the back of your mind, you're like, well, no, because Chewie's alive in episode 4 through 8.
Yeah, for 40 more years at least.
So, it's nice, but it's just to fill seats, and it's just to keep people engaged in Star Wars.
I think it's to sell toys, which I don't mind.
I don't mind either, but because
have the toys really been
I think the Solo. I think out of as far as the toys go, out of the Disney movies, the Disney Star Wars movies, I think the Solo stuff has been the best. Specifically, Black Series. It's sold better. The 2 Black Series waves that we got have sold better.
You have one line that's a good seller. I don't know if that's really ideal.
Well, the Falcon that they put out was dog shit.
Yeah, it's a frisbee.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, because this actually feels like the first Star Wars film in a while. Like, besides Force Awakens, which I know Force Awakens is just a carbon copy of the bare bones of A New Hope, but Solo's the first Star Wars movie in a while that it doesn't feel like it was the toys came first. It feels like the script came first.
Oh, we definitely.
And then they had the story. Like, oh yeah, for sure. It seemed like something where the story was what was thought of first, and the toys were a byproduct, like the original Star Wars, where the story was what came first, and then Lucas realized, oh, I can market this, and I could make money off of it on the side as well, instead of just selling the movie.
That's easily my biggest gripe with Star Wars ever since Disney has owned it, is the toys have absolutely not come first ever since Disney has owned Star Wars.
I'll give Lucas a lot of crap, but he's a good businessman, and he was smart enough to realize, okay, the fans want this is what they're going to get. You want more articulation? Here's more articulation. You want more Jedi? Here's more Jedi. You want more droids and Wookiees to build armies? Here's more droids and Wookiees. Like, here's variations. Here's something so you're not bored. And then they switch back to 5 POA and terrible quality toys.
But we also got the what's it called? Vintage collection again.
Vintage. Yeah, we got the vintage collection back, which is super nice. So excited for
like
that.
30th anniversary. I think that's one of my favorite lines they've ever done. Like with character diversity, vehicles, everything, play sets, and then you go to the 40th. Oh, here's some cool Black Series figures.
Which the 6-inch is
that's
nice, but
all they did.
No, we also got like these really not so great titanium display pieces from 40th anniversary through 3/4.
There's just a big difference.
That were like clearance out as soon as they were put on shelves.
Yeah, they were clearance out as soon as they put on shelves, and pretty much absolutely nobody wants to buy them or do anything with them at all.
They're
absolutely
Timothy said, do you think that sales of the printed Legends/EU novels and audiobooks could help point to what standalone movies would be in demand?
It's funny you mentioned that. Oh, I'm sorry.
Do well at the box office.
It's funny you mentioned that, because that's kind of what they're doing with this Legend stuff. Is they're basically just tossing darts at a wall and seeing what sticks, because that fan voted character was Jaina. Well, we all know that there's no more Jaina. It's Rey or Jason. But it leads them, it kind of like points them in the right direction of like, okay, people are excited for this. The Revan figure sold a lot. So now we're getting an entire Old Republic trilogy, potentially with Rian Johnson. It's been confirmed, right? It's not just rumor anymore.
What's that?
That Rian Johnson's trilogy is Old Republic, or is that still? Like,
we still don't know exactly what it is. He's hinted.
Yeah,
he's
and
hinted
he
in
said,
several interviews.
He was like, "I'm not doing a story of Knights of the Old Republic, but it will most likely be set in the Old Republic." So
right.
What I think would be cool is like, so Disney Expo this summer, they announce maybe the next 4 movies. So let's say the first 3 had like 2020, 21, 22, and then 2023. it's question marks, and it's a fan vote. They present 4 ideas, and it's like a big poll.
The Gonk Droid movie.
Remember when they were talking about doing the Jabba movie?
And everyone was like, no. Who?
No.
Yeah, nobody wants to see that.
Hey, you're either going to do a terrible looking CGI Jabba the whole time, which no one wants to see, or you're going to have this terrible, or not a terrible puppet, but you're going to have this puppet. Who wants a Jabba movie? Like, who cares enough about a space gangster slug?
In the Clone Wars, the 2008 Clone Wars series, which I know you're not super familiar with everything in that is, but in the 2008 Clone Wars series, there was a story arc, and I think it was in season 2 or 3, where Zero the Hutt has escaped prison on Coruscant, and he goes back to Nal Hutton. That's enough of a Jabba story we got.
That's a 20-minute thing.
But it's a few episodes.
But expanding that over a full length
we get to see a lot of. No, my point is, we get to see a lot of Jabba stuff, like a lot of Hutt stuff, on their planet Nal Hutta, and I'm saying that's enough. I've seen enough Jabba the Hutt stuff to last me a lifetime at this point.
So you say that, but there are normies like me that only go to see the movies.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
then people like Dark Maul show up.
And then you're like,
and
whoa,
like,
who is this guy?
I thought he died.
And then we're just like, oh my
I know that he did.
Spoiler.
Most people.
Clone Wars.
Spoilers.
Clone Wars and Rebels. Darth Maul is in both. If you haven't seen it, watch it.
Definitely would watch it. Definitely.
Well, it's
amazing.
So
you can skip Clone Wars, start Rebels.
Clone Wars is great.
Let's start getting into the first act, and let's kind of describe what you saw on screen, and then some reactions.
Okay, so it starts out with Han in the worst lit place ever.
The worst lit place ever.
Cinematography is terrible, but that aside, there's a great opening scene where Han is he's boosting a little speeder. And
The hard drive speeder, the book speeder.
The book speeder, yeah. And he drives it back. He runs into his boo thing, Kira, and then he shows her a little hyperfuel. He's like, this could be enough to get us off this planet.
Coaxium, spoiler.
Coaxium, we have a word for it now. I'm sure it's been a word. But
because they never talked about gasoline in Star Wars before.
See, that's
Actually,
one of my issues with the movie.
They have.
Hyperfuel?
Hyperfuel and Tabana gas are very different, though.
That's it's kind of an issue. There was like Empire, they're basically flying around for like a month. Or like a week or two. And there's no one who's just like, oh man, we're going to run out of gas unless we go to Cloud City. It's just, hey, 3PO, can you go talk to the spaceship for a little bit and see what's going on? But in this one, it's like, oh, everyone's got to have this fuel, otherwise... Anyway.
I also think that was started in Last Jedi. I mean, the whole third act is they're running out of gas.
So...
That's the entire thing. Okay, so he steals the
sci-fi out of my Star Wars.
One of my actually favorite shots in the movie. It's super like short, but it's at the beginning when he's driving towards, I don't know what you want to call it, where what's the lady's name? The airport's
Lady Proxima.
So wherever she's at, the barracks, what you want to call it. He's driving, and you see like the cool like. You see like the cool Corellian background of like all like the shipyards and parts and stuff.
You get to see a Star Destroyer being built, and that really got me excited because I'm a big fan of the Empire. So seeing a physical Star Destroyer being assembled in the air was just so exciting.
Well, that's another thing I liked about it is even with my fatigue of Star Wars, all the Star Wars stuff that is referenced in this movie is like super well done. It's part of the plot. It's part of the world. It's not like
straight up nostalgia porn.
Yeah, it's not just and the You'll Be Dead guy's here and Blue Milk is here and remember Tarkin? Like it's none of I remember. It's none of that. It's like Han Solo mentioned the bulk Corellian cruisers one time. So now you get a single shot up in the sky of Star Destroyers being built. Got it. That's all you need. You didn't need to see him working in the factory making the sheet metal to put on the... It's fine.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I thought the opening was really cool, and the scene isn't too long when he gets busted with like they think he's up to something, he escapes, and then they're on the chase. I thought the chase scene was pretty cool for the most part, except for the really bad CGI stormtrooper.
Oh yeah, the speeder bike trooper.
Yeah,
would you say
it
the
was
patrol trooper?
Patrol trooper.
I was
Golly.
at Target last night and I saw it's like it's only figure that's made of him. It's a 12-inch. It says Imperial Patrol Trooper.
They could have
So
done that
that's-
so much better.
So that was kind of eh.
It was completely unnecessary too. Like, I guess it's necessary to show that like the Empire is patrolling Corellia, but they're literally in the sky, like, and they're on foot everywhere. Like, you do one thing on this planet, they're gonna know about it.
But do you think that maybe the
Unless you're a
CGI
smart
on
child.
that was not great because it was a last minute add-on?
It could have been a last minute add-on.
What I thought the movie did good too was
Gotta have more
like,
stormtroopers in this scene.
longer shots, like the chase scene. Like you see, like there's one I remember. He's on the right side and it falls him back to the left, and when he crossed the street, it falls him back to the right. I like it wasn't like a quick cut; it was like continuous.
Right.
They did that a few times in the movie. I thought it was pretty cool, and the chase looked really good too. Like I like you could say that was real, or whatever. Like it looks really good.
I really like it
So-
when they're like about to escape, and then that big giant speeder comes in behind
Yeah.
them, and it's just the dude in this comically sized tank.
And then so it was
Little
like I
bubble
thought,
at the top of
I
it.
thought we'd have more time or whatever he said.
He's like,
Tim
I thought
says
it was better.
let's remind ourselves how hot Amelia Clark's Kira was.
I have several issues with Amelia Clark that are personal, so I
won't
appreciate when
return
you're
his
getting at
emails.
commentary.
She won't.
but-
Yeah, she won't read his Game of Thrones fan.
It's not even
fan-
it. She's
what
just a
is it?
terrible
It's
actress.
Her DMs are unsliding chewable.
What's it called?
If anyone's
Fan
getting
novel.
if anyone's getting into Game of Thrones, Brienne of Tarth. I mean, come on, she thick. First of
Man,
Big.
I don't know.
I mean, who is the best girl in Star Wars right now?
Ray.
Is it
all, Daisy Ridley.
so
Define best. Are we still?
It's not Carrie Fisher.
looks?
Whoa.
Still too soon.
That's too soon, man.
Alex. I'm kidding.
I'll joke about
Whoa.
dead celebrities all day long, but I won't even go for Carrie Fisher. She actually meant something to me.
I think anybody who has ever worked here, she's got to be like their first love, at least to some extent.
What was the next scene? So, when she gets taken and they're trying to sneak through the gate.
Oh yeah.
So then, yeah, okay.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say I kind of see that it was something like that was gonna happen. How they were gonna get separated. My only thing was like, I thought you feel like the Imperial troopers maybe would have like somehow still gotten Solo because he stood there, was like banging.
Yeah, he's like banging
And
on
then-
it, and no one's just
yeah.
like, "Hey, there's some jerk at the front here. He's
Yeah.
banging on windows. Can you go take care of that?"
But I thought that was all really.
No,
cool.
there's a Jawa over here that's trying to get through the gate.
Yeah,
we need to.
and after
arrest that
after
guy.
he separated, he grabs the hat and like the jacket, and he's trying to hide and stuff.
Well, that's what I liked about that scene is like
It's cool.
It's clear that that's the first time he's truly ever been like alone. Like he's been on his own for a while, but he's had Lady Proxima and all the other kids
Yeah.
and
He's had
Kira.
Kira.
This is the first
somebody.
time he's alone, and he looks completely terrified in that scene. He's like, I don't know where to go, I don't know what to do. Just got to keep my head down, and like he literally
you mean
joins
when
the
he's-
Empire as a last resort.
When he's running around trying to hide
Instead
behind
of-
stuff.
Instead of getting grabbed by the Empire, he just joins up, so maybe
Yeah.
he can become a pilot that way and come back.
And then
He hears a couple
Yeah.
stormtroopers out in the distance, and he's like, crap.
Well,
like,
and then
next-
and then we see like a stormtrooper patrol grab another individual out there who just kind of looks like Han.
Yeah.
He's just got the brown hair like Han does, and they just grab him and say, "Hey, we need to talk to you about something." He's like, "What? What? What'd I do?"
And then Han goes through like the quickest recruitment process
Of all time.
Of all time.
Why
They
even
even
need
give him a
my
name.
cash.
Can we take a minute that they actually played the Imperial March music?
Yes,
They
Or
did.
their
and a
advertising.
major key,
That's
which was
one
really cool.
major thing I liked about
It
this
was-
movie
it
over
was
Rogue
sweet.
One. They used the original scores.
Yes,
They
that
changed
was
them. They
nice.
changed them just a little bit so you can tell the difference. But
This
like
was
the
the
bones
first
are there.
Disney
It
movie.
didn't
or-
feel like a high budget fan film.
It's the first
It just
Disney
felt
movie
like
I
an
walked
actual-
away and I was like, oh, I'll actually remember songs from that movie. Like Force Awakens, I was like, race theme was different. That's all I really remember. Last Jedi, I don't really remember much. Rogue One, but like.
Well, at least
this
Force
was all
Awakens
cool
has
stuff.
like jaunty beats that get stuck in your head over time.
Yeah.
Rogue One, all I can think of is.
Yeah, I was trying to think of.
And that's it.
That's the only one that could pop in my head right
It
now.
has no memorable
The music was awesome, but that was really cool how they used that for the advertising for the Imperial Army, but then now it's one of your parts I'm the biggest fan of is how he got his name.
Yeah.
Oh
All
my
right,
goodness.
let's talk about
All
that for a
right,
minute.
that's
My
so
eyes rolled out of my head.
So I didn't hate this.
I almost walked out of the damn.
Everybody else didn't like
I've
it.
heard 50-50 almost too. It's like you think it's like cool or it's like
I was like, okay, it's not the worst thing in the world. It's weird, but I'm like, I
It
don't
destroys his entire backstory.
hate it. He doesn't have one. His
But he did.
Solo's name
his,
is
his
screwed
no,
now.
no. His backstory is he was a slum rat, and that's it. That's
Scrum
all you need to know.
Now,
He's a nerf herder.
He is a nerd. You're my nerf herder.
Nerf herder, nerf war coming soon. Part
So
That is our word.
Solo when
did you
he's
just drop the N word?
when he's in the very quick recruitment process, talking to the Imperial officer, he tells him, the Imperial officer asks him what's his name, and he says, "My name is Han." And so he asks him, well,
No, he says, well, what are your people?
who are your people? And he says, "I don't have any people. I'm alone." So he goes, "Oh, okay, Han."
Solo.
And then he thinks about it for the longest amount of time. It's literally a 30-minute scene that he just... Solo.
It is not a 30
And
minute.
he looks
I don't
right at the
think you know
camera.
what
It's
It's
like
like
literally
Solo,
It's
like
a
that.
it's a couple. No, he doesn't. He goes Han Solo.
Solo.
And then he does it, and then he looks at Han. He goes, "We'll have you flying in no time, Han Solo."
And there's a really cool shot where he's like exploding and
Yeah,
like,
and then
falls.
the
Dude,
next
that-
scene is
The
tough.
scene is not that
the
bad.
battle on Mid-Ban is
This
awesome.
is the one I really want to talk about.
The scene on Minband, that's when the movie
This-
really picked up for me, and I was like, oh, this is a movie.
This was so
This is
awesome.
fun.
Like, if you could put World War I and Star Wars mixed together, it was...
Explain
that
to me-
10-minute scene is a better war movie than all 2
Explain
hours
to
of
me
Rogue
why
One.
we couldn't get all that in that Mimban scene in Rogue One. I would have liked it so
That would
much
have been
better.
cool.
That was a war.
But no, we gotta see
Awesome.
Felicity Jones look like a fish for 2 hours.
And like,
Yeah.
and well, you kind of see how like the Imperial, some of the armies like brainwashed. Because what did he say? He was like, your empire like needs you or something. And he turned around. It's awesome.
And everyone who goes that way is dying, and Han's
It's
just like,
sick.
nope.
And you see, you get the
Starts
ships
running
flying
the opposite
over.
direction.
Like, it's
Well,
super awesome.
And then he's
Jumps
talking.
down in the ditch for
then
dear life.
and then it pans over, and then you see Beckett, just like a hero to the Empire,
going
just like
ham.
gunning down on whatever
Like
it is they're
flipping it.
shooting
How
at.
you
You
doing,
don't even
John?
see what
That's
they're
what I
shooting
like.
at.
That seems
They're
ambiguous
just
as to
shooting.
what he's shooting
They're
at.
just shooting at whoever lives on that planet. And they're just like, and Beckett's just like twisting his pistols. He's like,
Danny.
choo, choo.
That's the one thing I didn't like
choo.
about his character was the unnecessary like, I'm a badass. And
Heather,
it's like,
can
who
you
are you doing that
answer?
for?
Can you answer Sebastian, please?
What's that?
I was telling Heather to answer one of the
Oh,
questions.
I love the pistol twirling. It's just like, yeah, I'm doing
Well,
stuff.
there's one part in the dialogue that touches on it later where Han goes, can you show me how to do that? And then Beckett doesn't answer his question, and then he never twirls a gun again, ever. Except for maybe like once towards the prison break.
There's
Towards the end.
a comic or it's a comic book going to be coming out soon about Beckett actually, which may give us insight on the whole horsing incident. Spoiler,
Oh yeah, spoiler.
A lot of
alert.
name drop references.
There is some name
which
drop
I
references.
liked.
There's
I
the
like that
Tam
too.
sisters,
Bosk,
Bosk,
multiple times.
and Aura Singh is dropped.
The sisters are from Shadows of the Empire. Bosk is from Empire. There's a movie called Empire Strikes Back that came out.
Go see it.
Should check it out.
You should check it out. It's pretty great.
Spoiler alert.
The
one
special
of the,
effects haven't held up that great over time, but it's pretty.
Spoiler alert though. Bosk is a bounty hunter in The Empire Strikes Back. I don't know if you've seen it yet or
Spoilers.
not. But
He's a really important character to the plot, and
basically Vader
has
puts
a
out
great backstory.
basically Vader puts out a call for some bounty hunters to meet him and help him capture the Millennium Falcon and its crew. And
We should
Bosk is
discuss
one
this
of the,
movie.
Bosk is one of the bounty hunters who answers it, along with spoiler alert
We should
Boba
honestly
Fett.
sit down and review all of them.
Spoiler
Oh, we're gonna
review
get- we're
of
gonna get
Empire
there.
Strikes Back.
Just gosh, I can't wait till we get to the prequel of Empire Strikes Back.
Just
called
wait till we get
Star
to the
Wars: A
big
New
twist
Hope.
at the end, bro.
Empire
Oh,
Strikes
man.
Forward.
I don't think you guys are ready for the twist at the end of Empire Strikes Back. You don't even know. It goes down though.
Yoda and Shmi were lovers.
What?
He's kidding. It's not true.
Impossible.
was it?
Anyways, okay, so he's on Mimban.
He's on Mimban.
He
Beckett's
meets
super
Beckett.
cool. But there's something, I mean, Han points it out, but there is something you notice about Beckett almost immediately is that
Because Han looks down and he goes,
his armor is all shot up.
and
Yeah,
it's
it's in
right
bad
in
shape.
like
It's right in the
organ
chest.
area. Right,
There,
right
there,
around here.
there are two blast points right here around the heart. There are two blast points in the armor. And Han is talking to him, and Becca goes, "Who's the ranking officer?"
Tim
Han
said,
goes,
"Please just don't spoil Revenge of the Three."
Revenge of the Three. What about Return of the Six?
Return of the Six.
I like Attack of the
5.
Attack of the Two.
Attack of the Two.
The Phantom 1.
A New 4. The Seven Awakens.
The Phantom 1's like a ship.
The Last Eight.
The
What
last
do you
Star
fly?
Wars movie.
I fly the Phantom 1.
The Phantom 1.
The Phantom.
Mexican variant, the
Attack,
Phantom Uno.
Attack of the Two.
No.
The bootleg Spanish edition.
Dude, here's the problem with this video so far. People left their houses, went and watched Han Solo,
And came back already.
and we're still going.
And we're still doing it. Well, because we want to
Well,
make sure
also,
we're
this
still
is
here
how
for
much
them
of
when
this
they come
video
back.
is Han Solo discussion, and this is just the BS that we've talked about.
Okay, so he meets Beckett.
He meets Beckett.
Beckett is
Beckett's-
obviously not who he says he is.
And Beckett's like, "Hey, we need to go this way," and Han's like, "Well, we're supposed to be going this way," and Beckett's like, "We'll go that way and die." Well, that's what the Major did. So Han doesn't go that way, and then right after that, it cuts to daylight. Everyone's kind of, I guess, resting
Well,
up.
they had to get past this ridge to this like trench or something
Yeah.
like that. It's very World War One, World War II.
The overall battle is kind of done. They're not dropping walkers anymore, which is supposed to be I think, is the new walker, which we're also going to get 3/4 scale soon. And then next thing we know is we just kind of see troopers just kind of taking it easy, walking around the base like military would. And then Han is trying to talk to Beckett some more and say, "Hey, I know you're not an Imperial officer. Plus, you got shot in the chest, and there's no way you heal that fast."
Yeah.
Also,
Well, there's a scene before that where he goes, "So who's in charge now?" And they say, "Well, you are, Captain."
Our captain.
Well, that
And
was,
then he has to
that was
stop.
during the war scene, though.
Right.
The Arcadians forearmed as well.
But you're also skipping when they're in the trench. Han's basically like, "Hey guys, can I come along too?" And then not Angela Bassett. I always forget what's the chick's name.
Val?
Yeah. Well, what's her
Val
name?
is her character.
I have no idea.
I don't know why.
I don't think I've ever seen
Bassett
her in
was-
anything else before.
Oh,
I've seen her.
That I
definitely
saw.
have. Hi, Jamie.
Is Jamie watching?
Jamie just woke up.
So not Viola Davis says we're all booked up basically, and we're not taking any more people onto our squad. And then he sees one of them. His two little vestigial hands pop out of his back and hike his pants up, and Han's just like, "Okay, these guys are definitely not who they say they are." And then there's a dude who's like, "All right, we're here to do what the Empire wants," and Han's like, "Great, more mud." And then
Smells
and
off.
then he's like, "So what is our job?" And he's like, "To take all the resources and what's the word he uses?
Establish
No,
a
he says-
regime loyal to the Empire.
Establish a regime loyal to the
Yeah.
Empire and
Freeing this planet and establishing a regime.
eliminate the hostiles."
Eliminate the hostiles.
And Han has a great line where he's like, "Well, we're invading the planet. We're the hostiles, no nuts." He doesn't
Jamie
say
said,
that,
"Hi, my
but-
Bobby."
Hi, Jamie.
Hi, Jamie.
Did she say hi at it?
Not yet.
I'm sorry.
You're gonna make me jealous, Jamie. So then the officer's like, "All right, let's do our job." And Han just kind of stands there and he's like, "I'm gonna go see that dude with the two holes in his chest, see if he's got something going on."
So, we'll skip forward. Han joins Beckett's team.
No.
No,
We're missing a
skipping
very
the,
important
No.
scene.
We're
on
skipping the
Minban.
best part.
Oh,
So
We can't skip that.
He basically is like, "Okay, Beckett, I'm gonna blackmail you unless you take me on your team." Beckett's like, "We'll see about that." And he calls over an officer and he goes, "This guy's a traitor.
He's a deserter.
He's a deserter.
you can't believe anything he says.
Can't believe anything he says."
And so the lieutenant goes, "Okay,"
I don't know yet.
and then says, "Feed him to the beast." To which Han
Well, I
responds.
thought it was funny. He noticed he was a captain, which means he probably would have had to look at his chest
and see the blast
and see the
points.
black. I mean, he still has his coat kind of over it, but it still would have been
But
a
still
little
see
funky looking.
the war wounds. Yeah.
But he says,
Now
"Feed him
she
to the
says,
beast."
"Hi, my added."
Hi, Jamie.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my
What about Bryce?
I don't think we're that close yet. We're working on it though. Hopefully
Just so
someday.
everybody knows, Jamie is my 2-year-old daughter, and Alex and Bobby are basically her uncles and best friends.
Yeah.
Damn, that was a good one. That was a good one. That was a good one.
And Bryson feels left out.
It's okay, Bryce. You're always out of town.
Yeah.
Okay, so
So they
what?
say,
Tell me about. So Alex and I got an early screener of Solo, and we went into it wanting to hate it so much. So when they say feed them to the beast, what was the first thought you
I thought it was
went
going to
through
be a
your
baby Rancor. I legit thought it was going to be a baby Rancor, and then Han was going to somehow wrestle it and find his way out of it, and then he'd like run up to Beckett and be like, "Look what I got!" They'd be like, "I know a gangster called Jabba. We're going to take this to him." And Jabba would be like, "How much for the Rancor?" And then it would have like Hollywood hack screenwriter level terrible Star Wars. These are my nightmares.
Is that the book ship from Solo, blue one, on the below middle shelf? Yeah, pull that up.
Look at there.
Oh yeah, this is
This is Peter that he hotwired.
With crash battle action.
which is weird because that didn't never happen.
Yeah. Yeah, he never really crashed this thing. I mean,
He gets it stuck.
He did like a Burt
Other way.
Reynolds thing with it.
Other way.
Oh yeah, it was that way.
He gets it stuck in between like
Two buildings.
two walls.
So it turns out to be the monster is actually Chewie that they're trying to feed him
Yes.
to.
Getting back to
And
the topic
Han
again.
can speak.
Wookiee for some reason.
Well, we already knew Han could speak.
Okay, we knew
because
he
they
could
both
understand it.
Yeah.
When it sounds when it's a grown man who it looks ridiculous and it sounds ridiculous.
But it was so awesome that they put that in there. I really got
Dude,
excited.
I was not.
It wasn't like Thor's throwaway line of like, "Oh yes, they taught Groot on my planet." It's like that's a weird thing that Thor's planet would do.
It wasn't true. He was being sarcastic, and you know it.
He understood Groot.
I'm pretty sure he was being sarcastic.
No, because he
No,
answers
he
Groot's
understood
question.
him.
It sounded like he was saying it. Like,
Groot
yeah,
even
they
goes,
taught
"I
it on my
am
planet."
Groot," and he's like, "Yeah, they taught it on. I took a semester of it." Thor
So-
literally went to school. That's what we should take away from that scene. But getting back to Solo,
Pretty sure it's a joke.
it's not a joke.
Pretty sure.
I think we all have to go
I've seen
see
movie
Infinity
million
War
times. Alright,
again,
let's go
and
see
then we
it.
can do an
Alright,
Infinity
pause-
War video.
Pause this. We gotta go watch
this.
Infinity War.
Or just let it roll. We'll roll.
We'll
We'll
just
watch
bring it with
Infinity
us.
War with us. We'll get this whole thing out of
Hey,
there.
Daniel,
Once
how
we
you
get
doing?
to that scene, we'll just come back.
I was raised by a Wookiee female, so he picked up on the lingo as a kid.
Oh, okay.
Sure, that's not in the movie, but I will accept it as canon because I don't know any better. So, Chewie's about to drown him in mud, which is probably the most terrifying thing on the planet, besides asphyxiating in sand. And so, of course, it's rough, it's irritating, and it gets everywhere. So Han's like, and Chewie's just like, "Oh, what the hell? You know Wookiee." And then he's like, "Look, I know a little." And then he speaks in broken Wookiee-ish.
Like, I have a plan, let's get out
Yeah,
of here.
he's like,
Wooklish?
you and me make pretend battle to
And-
escape.
And then Chewie's like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
So they just start fighting.
I got a good question for you, Bobby.
What's the question for me?
Do we think that the animated series, The Clone Wars, has a legit and genuine connection with the movies, or it isn't worth watching?
Which Clone Wars series? The 2008 one?
It says animated series.
I would say definitely watch season 4 and 5 now because of Darth Maul.
I would say yes. It does have a legit connection to all of the films.
It is canon.
It is canon.
It's confirmed canon.
And it is certainly worth watching. There are some parts of it that are slow, like any series, that you can probably easily skip over. You probably don't really need to watch season 1 or 2 at all.
Yeah, that's because it's Clone Wars.
If you're really curious about Maul, especially being in Solo, definitely watch parts of season 3, parts of season 4, and parts of season 5 where Maul comes in.
Here's the thing. If you are not into what the prequels did, if you don't like the monotone British accents, the over-choreographed lightsaber battles, I would say skip most of the Clone Wars. However, there's Bounty Hunter episodes that are really good.
I have not, so.
The Darth Maul arc is really good.
Night Brothers is awesome.
I like all that stuff.
And all that stuff's pretty sweet.
The Asajj Ventress story arc continuing throughout the series is really
The
interesting.
Ahsoka stuff is good. The end is really cool too.
The Ahsoka stuff's interesting.
And it
But
kinda ties with
if
Rebels.
you're like, here's my biggest issue with the cartoon series is it's a kids' cartoon series, so they have to take liberties with certain things. There's in one of the early ones, Cad Bane is stealing a holocron, and there's a scene where it's literally within reaching distance. Like me and Bobby.
Yeah,
are
but
here.
nobody likes Holocron.
True. Fort Worth is a terrible place. It's wretched
Don't you have a scum
of scum and villainy. Words.
Wordy words.
Wordy words.
let's leave the Clone Wars stuff. We can, because we're gonna start another series here soon, which is basically pros and cons, and we're gonna do each movie, each of the animated series, and
I will be playing the hater, and he will be playing the hater. So
You hate us because you hate us.
hate us because you hate us.
let's stay with Solo. So okay, so Han and Chewie escape. Then
Yes. And then
Which,
Chewie
by the
starts
way-
running in a different direction and pulling Han.
I absolutely hated the casting, Alden Ehrenreich. I saw one movie with him in it called Hail Caesar. That is probably, I hate that
Where he
movie
swings
more.
a lasso.
Right, I hate that movie probably more than any other movie. And
I've never even seen it. I don't even
Haven't
know
seen
what
it.
is.
Don't. It's horrible.
What is it
See,
even about?
It's a Coen Brothers movie.
What
so
is
it's
it about?
It is
It's
a Coen
about
Brothers movie,
it's
right?
about a studio with a bunch of famous actors on payroll with one more movie on their contract, and they say we're going to throw all these famous people into one movie. That's not what it's about, but that's what it's about. That's what is actually happening.
I'm confused. Is that the actual plot of the film,
No.
or is that how the film was made?
That's
Here,
how
it's
the
a
film was
Coen
made.
Brothers
Okay, so
movie.
what's the plot of the film?
It's a Coen Brothers movie, so that's the bare bones, and then there's just nonsense.
The dude killed it as Han Solo. I really liked him.
I liked him too.
I was not willing to give him a chance until that scene where he starts speaking Wookiee, and I was like, okay, he's taking it seriously. Like, you could ham up that scene really bad, and you could just show how much you don't want to be there. And honestly, the whole thing, the when he pitched such a fit about the original directors, which led to getting them fired, that was enough for me to almost join this boycott Solo nonsense.
On top of that, Kathleen Kennedy was like, "Okay, son, I'm going to hold your hand," and got him an acting coach.
Right.
When it's like, if your main lead in your Han Solo anthology movie sucks,
Don't cast him.
don't cast him.
You're
in that
redoing
role.
the entire. They basically redid the entire film. They had the chance to cast somebody else.
Taron Egerton would have been great.
Taron Egerton would have been fine. Dave Franco was one of my early picks.
See, I'm not big on David Franco
Oh,
personally.
I don't want to see.
Okay,
him.
how about the dude that has literally played young Harrison Ford in a different movie and killed it? He was the best part of that movie.
Didn't he release a
Age-
YouTube video of him doing Han Solo impressions too?
I
And
believe
they
Oh,
were
that's somebody
pretty-
else. That's
okay.
Jamie something.
I really like that one.
Both of those guys would have been a better choice, but this guy killed it. I didn't want him to, but he did. Anyways,
He's really charming. It's a young, insecure Han Solo, but that's what I wanted. I
The
didn't.
body language he did was really good too. I like just all his. I don't know. He's really
his
good.
Harrisonisms.
Heroism, man.
He starts getting cocky as the movie progresses, like more and more so.
Well, when he figures
Becoming
out
the Han
that
that we all
that
know.
he's good at being
He's incredibly optimistic. Like I saw my mom, and like my third time seeing it, I was like, I realized Solo was just like super positive, like the whole movie. He's like, they're escaping, and he's just like, we're doing it, here we go.
I got a really good feeling about this.
Yeah, like just super positive the whole time. It was cool.
So where were we?
Next is
He joins
they-
Beckett's team.
So yeah, they're like, hey, and then Jon Favreau, the four-armed monkey dude, is he's just like, I like this kid, bring him on board.
Let's get him.
See?
But what are they on?
They're on a. They steal a.
A walker drop.
Walker transporter.
A walker transporter.
Yeah, it's a.
It's an A. They call it an AT hauler.
Yeah, that's what it was. A
So
hauler.
they're stealing it for a job that they're pulling. That's why they were in stormtrooper disguise. That's why they were wearing the lead trooper uniform. That's why
Do
Beckett
we-
had the shot up uniform.
Here's-
Shot up captain uniform.
Here's my only issue with this planet. Why does the Empire have a train that's on tracks hauling space fuel? Do they not know they have spaceships?
But they have to get the fuel to the spaceships.
Okay,
Ah.
you know what a spaceship can do? It can move from one location to the other.
Yes, but it is
not
a
on a
very
track.
volatile, which we see in the movie. It is a very, very volatile.
Okay, but Han has it in the Falcon and he's going woo, like flipping around, doing crazy stuff like that. So
Do we know the name of that snow planet?
No, we don't.
I don't think we ever got like a name for
We
it.
didn't get a name for it.
Yeah.
I apologize for that noise. I made 5 seconds.
So next is they're on the AT hauler, and then we get the best scene in the whole movie.
When Chewie and Han are talking.
No, we
Here.
get the Chewie and Han shower scene, which is very beautiful.
Careless Whisper starts playing.
So it starts off with a glorious shot of Alden Ehrenreich's ankles with mud coming off of his very dirty body. And so like we see him in the shower. It's just like, yeah, I'm in the shower. Okay. And then you see these two big hairy feet come right up behind Han. And then you're just...
Jonas does such a good job in this movie.
You're just standing there and you're just oh my goodness.
I love so Peter to death. Peter Mayhew is such a good guy. We've had the pleasure of meeting him several times. But this new kid, Jonas, is... I mean, everybody expected for Donald Glover to steal the show. In my opinion, it was for sure Chewie.
Well, there's a great part where they have this campfire when they all they're talking about the job for the next
Vandor.
day. Vandor?
The new Star Wars planet introduced in Solo was called Vandor.
Not Truck Door.
Not
Truck Door.
What about Car Door?
Vandor. Is it a sliding van door?
Vandor. Oh yeah, they do say that, don't they?
Yeah, I think it's Vandor.
Okay.
Hold on a second. We got a comment that says, I don't want to get into the sensitivities of it, but it is a well-known bias despite the huge diversity in numbers of available acting professionals in the States. I think he was talking about Alden Ehrenreich.
Oh, okay.
I agree with that. We, especially in Star Wars lately, there have been a lot of outside actors in Star Wars, especially. Like, lately I haven't seen almost any American actors in a lot of stuff. It's been a lot of British actors. In Marvel especially. We just got
well, it's always been a staple.
We got Paul Bettany, we got Benedict, we got Benedict Cumberbuckle, we got Peter Parker, they're all British.
Tom Hollandaise sauce.
Tom Hollandaise sauce. And I really liked, I personally really liked Andrew Garfield. Isn't he also not American though?
No, he's British.
He's British also? Thought so.
Stay on Solo.
Andrew Garfield, if you're watching, please die.
No, hashtag become Spider-Man again.
Hashtag Amazing Spider-Man 2 is trash.
It's the best movie ever.
So they start the job.
Chuck said it's like that in the original trilogy as well.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Is it?
Yeah, there's plenty of outside British actors.
Well, it's like
the main cast.
Harrison's
American.
Harrison, Carey, and Mark.
Hamill. Yeah.
Name another one. Name another American actor in the original
Prowse
trilogy.
From
James Earl Jones.
James Earl Jones is doing a great blackface.
James Earl Jones has blackface.
He's a black man.
Thoughts for episode 9. How do you think they'll handle Kylo's fate?
We'll get into
that.
No idea where they're going with episode 9.
I feel like no one has any idea. Relatively, all done zeros.
Which is nice, but at the same time,
I have no
Last Jedi
expectations
shook
for
his
episode
feet.
9.
I have no idea what's going to happen.
see, here's the problem. Episode 9's scriptwriter, at least co-writing it with J.J. Abrams, is Chris Terrio. He's responsible for Justice League, Batman vs. Superman, I think Man of Steel.
Not the best. Right?
So it's going to be amazing, is what you're saying.
Yeah, sure.
2 of those 3 movies were decent.
I wouldn't call Justice League decent. I'd say it's fine.
Justice League
is
was good.
below average.
Oh, really?
I like Justice League.
I love seeing a movie where the villain's
God's sake,
motivation is
stay
the
on
same
Solo.
motivation as the first
So they
movie in
start
your
the
franchise.
on
What?
Vandor.
No, we were talking about Chewie. Hold up. There's a great scene at the campfire where they're like, "What are you gonna do, Chewie?" He's like, and that whole scene is like that
Me
part
too,
is
Cam.
the best part of that entire scene.
What are you saying?
There's also a dumb thing, which is it's kind of dumb but kind of cool, where Beckett strips down Han's
The
Imperial
DL-44.
sniper rifle and turns it into his blaster.
Just hands it to him.
Just hands it to him.
It's like,
Which
here
I
you
guess
go.
Han made like 7 more because like he apparently gave Luke one in between episode 4 and 5.
Yep.
But
Well, it's an Imperial sniper rifle.
fair
Isn't that
enough.
what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's what he was using on Minban.
How do we like the Rio character? What's his alien
I
species
wish he
again?
lived.
Oh, what is this?
Ardenian.
Ardenian, yeah. Rio is
I
awesome.
thought Rio was really cool.
Super
Yeah,
awesome.
I kind of feel
I
like
wish he was on screen more.
I kind of feel like he was put in the film because Beckett's team needed a pilot, and I think they killed him off, spoilers, because Han needed to take that place.
I
He
figured
said-
I want to get a Black Series figure ASAP.
That's what
yeah.
Tim just said. Isn't a Black Series 6-inch version coming out of Rio? I certainly hope so.
I haven't seen any kind of announcement for him.
I
There's
haven't
an
seen one
announcement
either.
for Val. We've
They'll probably
had it
put it on
announced.
Christmas night,
L3.
yes.
We've had it announced. What was the other one? It was L3. We're
I like
getting Val.
L3, but if we're getting an
Although-
L3, we better get a Rio figure.
L3
I
would
would
be
rather
sweet
have
too.
Rio.
There is a L3 coming.
There is
Right.
L3. We're getting Rio. We're getting Emphas Nest and Speeder Bike in August.
Oh, I'm so excited
That's
for
what
that.
I'll come to August.
July 25th is supposed to be the
We
release.
keep
Oh, is it July
all right.
25th?
Stay on track because all I want to talk about is Emphas Nest.
Okay.
Okay.
So
He joins the
heist.
team. They go to Vandor.
They
They're
plan their
about.
heist.
It
Yeah,
goes
they're
wrong,
planning the
goes
heist.
bad because
Emphas Nest shows up.
Emphas Nest.
But Emphas Nest wasn't supposed to show up because, according to Beckett, his intel was solid. Nobody else knows about it. According to his source, which we later find out is
Why?
Jordan Voss.
Why
the
are
guy
they
hired him.
going on this heist?
He owes Dryden Voss
something.
And
well,
the
we don't know
crimson-
exactly,
a large
but
amount of
He was,
coax.
he was hired by Dryden Voss through, and by extension,
let's
the
get
Crimson
to
Dawn.
let's get to that point. So they get the thing off the track. Rio and Beckett's girlfriend are now dead. Han has to pilot the thing, and Chewie is holding on to Beckett onto the cargo that they're hauling,
The
the
train
space
car.
fuel, the train car, yes, that they had to detach and lift off and whatever. So Enfys Nest's group on their tiny little speeder bikes also latch onto the cargo, and they're kind of like they're
Pulling
struggling
opposite directions.
Yeah, pulling opposite directions, and there's a cliff, and Han's like, "I have to drop it, otherwise we all die." And Beckett calls him a coward, and you're just like, "Well, you would probably do the same. What's going on?" And then you see in the next scene, all Beckett's friends are dead. All he has is Han and Chewie.
Guys,
And he explains to him, listen, this cargo was not meant for me, for us. It's because we owe my boss, and I'm royally screwed. So I can go to him and try to apologize, but he's never seen you before, so...
Biggest plot hole in the movie, if you ask me.
It is not a
It's
plot
not a plot hole.
That
He
is not a
explains
plot
to
hole.
him, as soon
No,
as
it's
you meet
not.
Dryden Voss, you are now in that life forever. He hasn't
Yes.
met Dryden Voss at that point.
Okay, look at Han Solo
Josh, you're gonna be
from
sorry.
this movie, and look at Han Solo from Episode 7.
Those
Okay.
are two different Han Solos.
Yes.
It's like
Very different
40
Han
years. Kidding.
Yeah, it is. But if it was Han Solo from Episode 7, this is the only time in the film that I was taken out of the film and I was like, well, besides the whole last name nonsense, I really feel like he would not have just said, okay, I'm in. He would have thought about it and then something
nowhere
should
else
have
to go.
happened.
He has
has nothing.
nowhere else. He doesn't know anybody else
He
other
needs
than
money.
Beckett
He
and
needs the money
Chewie.
to get a ship.
He wasn't going to get money anyways. They were just paying him back. And it wasn't revealed until later that they said, okay, if you do a good job and and he's happy with you, you'll get a good cut.
Yes,
Yeah, he tells him that.
yes. That's all. That's all told from. It's not like they said one thing and then did something else
He's
and
like-
completely.
And Dryden wouldn't necessarily put them on the same job.
Does
to begin
anybody
with. They only
agree
do that
with
'cause
me
they
that
don't
the
No,
Han-
it
No
is
one
not a
agrees.
I'm
plot
not
hole.
talking to you. I'm talking to my people.
If they're smart, they don't agree with
They
you.
don't agree. It's not.
That's
plot
not a plot hole.
Oh.
A plot hole.
He said, if you do this, you're gonna slide forever. Well, I think I'm gonna do it, and he's gonna slide forever now. I mean,
Yeah, he
Yeah.
thought about it. It's
Aware.
not like he just goes, no, it's cool. It's fine.
No, he
All
could
right,
have
later.
stayed in the life forever regardless, and he could have gone on his own missions. It's not
Doing
like,
what? With what ship?
He doesn't have any connections other
He has
than Beckett.
nothing. He doesn't know anybody.
but now he knows who Dryden Voss is.
because
yeah.
he went there and met
He
him.
heard the name. It doesn't mean he's going to get on the yacht just because he knows his name.
Oh.
And it's not. It's like he's gonna recognize the yacht
Actually, he
either.
would
like,
have because guess who
Beckett
was on
even
the
says
yacht?
we owe Crimson Dawn.
He
Han
didn't
Solo
know
knows
who
that
was
is.
on the yacht.
Yeah, but he's not going to go, my name's Han Solo, I'd like to get on the yacht. And then maybe Kira hears it
Solo
upstairs
knows
and
who
goes,
Crimson
oh, I know
Dawn
who that is.
When
Yeah.
back on Corellia, she's
That
like,
would've been a plot hole.
Chuck says Han transitioned to Beckett in the film. Somebody else said, I think he did say yes just to survive. So maybe it's just me,
It's
but
just
I'm
you.
telling you, it took me out of the film. That was the last name and that part I was not down with.
Here's a plot hole that I think is a little better, personally. Dryden Voss said, they tell Dryden, if I send y'all, people are going to know that it's me. And they go, well, nobody knows that we work for you. And Dryden goes, that's a good point. Hey, Kira, my number one lieutenant, person that works for me,
Right,
can you
that
go-
everybody
can you go with
knows.
them? That
Yeah.
everyone knows. That's the only issue I have with their entire heist that they have to
Okay,
go
so
on.
the
But there's two heists in this movie. It's great.
There's 2 heists in this movie. It's Fast and Furious of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Whoa. Don't make that connection. This film is
Yeah,
good.
I'm the only one that made
Han
that
lives his
connection.
life one parsec at a time.
This film is good, and the lead
quarter parsec.
the lead is still alive. So let's leave this one out. Wow.
Oh no!
And this
A
movie
quarter
Star Wars,
parsec,
12
a quarter
parsecs.
parsec at a time.
Thank you. I mean, he's boosting a car in the opening scene.
Yep.
He's not an undercover Imperial spy.
So wait, is he
Oh,
Paul Walker
no.
or is Chewie Paul Walker?
Neither of them are undercover
Chewie.
Imperial spies.
I mean,
And then the
I'm
villains
tired.
don't join their crew later.
You know far more of the plot to Fast and the Furious.
Because they're all the same plot.
No,
they just
that is not
recycle
true.
everything up
They
to
were
the next
street
one.
racers,
What
and
about
then
the
they
one where
were
the Rock hates them
fugitives.
until the
They
last
have
5
never
minutes?
not been street racers. Street racing is illegal regardless, so they're
then they
still
go
street
and try
racers.
No, because they get
So
government.
then they go to
Designated
Dryden
areas
Voss's
that are
yacht,
allowed
and
for
then
sure.
Dryden's pissed. Fun fact, all Paul Bettany's scenes were all part of the reshoot, so he was
They
originally
were
not
all
in the
part
movie.
of the
Not all
Thank you
street
for keeping
races
us
are
on
illegal.
track.
I'm
Okay.
trying.
All Paul Bettany scenes were reshot.
I'm like,
Okay, so
I'm like
how-
the
Well,
cargo.
he was
I'm like
supposed to
the
be a
car.
big
You pull me
fat
this way, you
CGI
pull me this
alien.
way.
He was supposed to be a big fat CGI alien,
I'm the
but his
cargo
actor
accident.
couldn't come back for
It tells
reshoots. So Paul Bettany's like, well, I'm not doing anything. I lay down this vision in Infinity War for most of the movie.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, well, we're gonna put some
Spoilers.
We're gonna write some Sharpie on your face and make your eyes look like you just smoked a pound.
It looks
And
like he
he's
was a
gonna be
fat.
angry the whole time.
It looks like he might have been a fat alien at one point because his face had like all these stretch marks like all over it.
Oh, you- you-
His face was nothing but
Those were
stretch marks.
scars.
So he
man.
discovered Subway, like
He discovered Subway.
a certain character in Golden Emperor.
Yeah.
Did you guys know that Bambi is in this movie?
Like the voice actor?
No, like the character.
Like the deer?
Yes.
Where?
Bambi is in Dryden Voss. Heather told me about it this morning. Bambi
Like he had
is
a copy
in.
of
No,
the VHS cassette on
dude,
his
she
treasure
is,
trove?
or he, whatever Bambi is in a glass dome. Okay, so remember the shot, the production picture that they put out where it was, what's his name? Paul Bettany,
Dryden
and
Voss.
it was Dryden Voss and Ron Howard, and they're in that main room that they're in at the end where the Mandalorian armor is.
his office?
Yeah. So everybody only cared about the Mandalorian armor. But in that same scene, you can see from the rear, it's obviously Bambi. It has the same little cutie mark on his booty. And it's just in a glass dome, and it's Bambi.
I didn't see that. I did see the crystal skull that people are talking about. I didn't see the fertility statue or idol that people are talking about from Indiana Jones. I didn't see that one because I went and watched it again yesterday. And I
Oh, the
couldn't
golden
find it.
idol from Raiders?
Yeah, supposedly it's like a fertility
It wouldn't
idol or
surprise
something
me
like
if it's
that.
in the background.
Some
Bambi
people
is
kept
in-
telling me it's in there. I couldn't find it when I tried watching it yesterday. But I did. I mean, I saw the crystal skull the first time I saw it.
So
I was like, oh, cool. there's
Dryden's
that.
pissed, so they go and like they need a ship because they're gonna go get more coaxium.
They
from
need a
Kessel,
ship. They need a
because Kessel's
fast
the best
ship.
plane
They
to
need
fuck
a
with.
fast ship.
So Kira knows of this guy who
Chuck
Go to
said
the
it's on
snow
the back
planet
show.
with one bar on it.
I think it's the same planet.
I think
isn't it?
yeah. I think they're in the
Is it
same,
the same
planet.
planet? This is a very convenient plot
I want to say they're in the same place.
And it's Lando.
And what is he doing? He's cleaning out a bunch of dudes on the sabacc
Sabacc
table.
table.
Yeah,
Sabacc game night's coming soon,
Oh, get it. You guys are in trouble
we are planning on doing this.
and we are gambling toys.
with the Wookiee win.
with the Wookiee win. Yep. Yeah. So
We need
Lando's cleaning out on the sabacc table. And then Han's like, "Look, we don't need this guy."
Well,
I
hold
can
up,
beat
because they know Lando because Kira was once a. Let's say they were lovers at one point. I want to
Probably.
assume,
Well, they did a job or so together.
but that
What time
generally
it
leads
is?
to Lando tapping that. So
I don't know. I don't even know
she
if I'll watch it.
even kind of
Hints at it. Yeah.
hints
Han-
at his prodigious.
Pansexuality,
And then Han cuts her off.
337.
I'll probably.
No, none of his pansexuality was actually like established in this movie. That was just a thing
I
where
think it's just 'cause
some
she-
interviewer was like, "Do you think Lando could be more than straight?" And John Kasdan was just like, "Sure, why not?" And then that's a good.
Tim just
headline.
pointed out another plot hole. How come Han never had to come up with the alleged ship he owns, which he lost in the first Sabacc game?
I think the reason for that is Lando probably knew he was full of crap when he put it up.
Yeah.
And especially when they got to the ship, and he was like, "Oh, it's in the shop."
It's in the shop.
In the next shot too, he's like, "Where's my ship, baby?" And he comes down the steps like Donald Glover. And I think he's just like toying with Han the whole time.
That
Yeah,
would've been one
I
of those
think-
He
things.
said, why didn't Kira just ask Lando in the first place to borrow the Falcon? I mean, if Han lost the game, why didn't she just ask Lando from the get-go?
Well, she was getting to that. Han was just kind of like, "Nah, I want to do this thing. We don't need him."
But
Let's
she
get the
had to
thing."
buy him in.
Why do you want to try to find plot holes? Like the movie.
Just
Dude, it's not me. I'm reading the
You're
comments.
defending the comment.
you are.
I'm playing devil's advocate.
Don't just like the movie, please.
Kira pulled rank and had Lando scared.
I see why. I see where you're getting at, though. I agree.
It's
Kira
because
would've
that
been
scene
like,
is fun. Damn it.
Kira could have been like, "No, that's stupid. Let's just hire Lando and move on with this story." But
Plus, it's also a scene to establish that Lando's a no good cheater.
it's a scene to
Which
establish,
comes into play later.
and it's also to establish the game of Sabak and to set up the following of Han eventually winning the Falcon from him.
Well, it's also falls in line with Lando doing whatever it takes to win. Not necessarily like a win-win,
Empire,
but
when
like
he
an
gave in.
empire.
So-
Yeah, when
so
he gets into
you're-
the empire, he's like, "Look, I had no other option, and it's either give y'all up or give my entire city up." And probably worked damn hard to get Cloud City. So
And then he ended up having to give it up anyway.
yeah, having to give it up anyway.
Yep.
So he betrayed his friends too, but then he becomes a general in the next movie. So I guess all is forgiven.
Yeah.
Lando's just so charming. It's so easy to forgive
It
him.
is so easy to forgive him.
So
Like,
we had a question earlier. What did you guys think about Donald Glover as Lando?
I
It
love
was
it.
great.
exactly how Lando should
he's
be.
doing an impression of him the whole time, which is what we expected. It's
And-
fine. I'm just glad. Like, I'm glad it was him doing the impression and not Alden Ehrenreich doing an impression of Han, because then it would have just felt like, okay, why even make the movie then? Can we make a cartoon movie, cartoon show?
Yeah.
But Donald Glover's great in it. He acts like Lando.
Chuck said Alex is on the spot with his assessments today.
Trying.
I mean, I think Han's character was pretty good. Like I was satisfied with it. I think Lando's character was exactly how it needed to be. I thought it was like
Lando
just
was
a
great.
perfect fit. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's good as he plays kind of the same role he does in Empire, where he's more of a background character. He says some funny stuff. He does some charming things.
So the rumor is that Donald Glover as Lando is getting his own movie. How do you feel about that?
I'm torn. It's like the Boba Fett movie. Like when they announced it, I was like, oh God, no, please. But then when they pulled it, I was like, that kind of would have been neat. That would have been kind of cool.
And then
So
they
I'm
But
came
how
kinda
much of
torn.
that is the fatigue that you keep bringing up?
Well, this was before all the fatigue. This was back when like Episode 8 hadn't even come out, and like Rogue One trailer just come out, and they're like, "Here's our next 10 movies," and it's like, you can do one every 2 years. It's fine. Oh God, I don't need one every year, please.
Well, it's like
But-
Alex. Like if there's a Lando movie. That should be one with like lightsabers, none of that extra stuff. That should be kind of like like a grimy, like gritty, like story. I kind of like lower levels of Star Wars universe.
Well,
I think I like that. I think
This is the neglected side of Star Wars. It's the seedy underbelly that we don't ever really get to see. We get hints of it throughout the movies, but it's like when they announced the Resistance show. I don't care. I don't care what the rebels are doing. I've seen what the rebels are doing. They're being very inefficient at stopping an empire.
and they changed their name for no reason.
They changed their name for no reason, and then in Episode 8, it's just like, oh, I guess we're rebels again. Who cares?
Last
But
Jedi.
when they if they announce a Lando or a Boba Fett with James Mangold's going to be great.
That's going to be so good.
It's gonna be so good. There's
Oh my
no way.
goodness.
Like unless Kathleen Kennedy is just like, and like Suicide Squads it up.
Let's
It's
give
just
it
like,
a
no, do
PG
this.
rating.
Hashtag make Daniel Logan Boba Fett again.
Hashtag
no damn way.
He was a little kid. Okay.
Hey guys, it's me, Boba Fett, and
He doesn't have to talk. They
And he
can
hasn't
get-
had a job since then.
They-
he doesn't have to talk. Then you don't have to cast him.
Boba Fett just needs to stand and look stoic. That's all he needs to do.
No, you get
For God's sakes, we got 100 other just from this one
hashtag
review.
Carl Urban for Boba Fett.
No.
Get it trending right now.
Tamara Morrison, not Tamara Morrison.
No.
Oh, God. Daniel Logan, either voiced by Tamara Morrison or the guy who does the clones. One of those two.
Okay, how about this? How about this? We got James Mangold, right? What's her name? Daphne.
Daffy Duck.
Daphne Keane.
Daphne Keane.
X-23.
Definitely.
X-23. So, how about we
Playing
go
young
with the
Leia?
story? No, not young Leia. Playing Boba Fett's daughter, who has to go. Like, there's a whole separate story about Boba's daughter. I wish Randall was here because he knows the whole thing.
Oh
back
man, Boba has this kid, man. She's so cool, man.
Yeah.
Man, have you seen General Grievous? Oh man, he's got this pit named Gorg, man. I think that's cool.
I got plenty of General Crux.
So what if we got Daphne Keane as Boba's as Boba's daughter?
Miles Adon in the cantina.
What?
Nothing.
If for those of you who haven't met our friend Randall,
Randall's a great guy.
he's a good dude
He's a
who
goat.
loves Grievous, loves
so
a bunch of
cool.
Eve stuff, loves sideshows. Man, they're so cool.
They're
I
so
love, I
cool,
love the
man.
cantina scenes, man.
Plays bass because who plays bass? Gosh,
I don't
I think
believe
that's correct,
haircuts.
Jerry. Okay, so where were we? We're totally so
we
far
got
off
totally
track.
sidetracked. So they meet Lando. Lando cheats. They still convince him, hey, we need a ship.
He's
And
like, yeah, I'll come with
Finesse
you.
gets
He's
Scout
like, sure,
gets
if
a
there's
tracker.
if there's a chance to get to Tapkira again, then sure, why not?
And Finesse gets the scout
And then,
the tracker on the ship.
Yep, and I'm
Yes.
pretty sure it's Warwick Davis.
That's what I thought too. There was a really cool
'Cause-
scene though
'cause he's
with
too short,
when
they
they,
can't see
they
him?
negotiate Lando's cut, and it's kind of funny. Him and Beckett go back and forth about the percentage, and
And this is where Lando thinks Beckett, because he thinks Beckett, and he said, this is where Aura Singh's name gets dropped. He says, you know, you really did me a favor by getting rid of Aura Singh. You did a favor.
Well, it
to
gets
the
dropped
galaxy,
earlier, too.
and you got her off my back. And
you're like,
Beckett's
what?
like,
Aura
well,
Singh's doing?
he's like, thanks for killing her. He goes, well, I pushed her. I'm pretty sure the fall killed her. And that was really cool.
Yeah.
I really like that subtle name drop.
we don't need to see it, but we get to hear about it. That's
for-
it.
for
And
someone
you can imagine like what led to that, and like you can picture it in your head. It's not something that needs to be shown visually in a flashback or any stupid crap like
And-
Aylin Bell was her name.
that. The actress,
Yeah.
What were we talking about?
or
So they take off to go to Kessel.
Then they leave to go to Kessel.
which is it's this really bright sunny planet, but there's this maelstrom.
Because
it's like
Sebastian, it's because it's after the Clone War was over, and Vader would be around, and all the they're basically kidnapping people and brainwashing them at this point. The question was, why are they uniformed as stormtroopers and not clones if it's after?
Oh, they stopped the cloning process. Like they let the last cloning cycle go after Order 66, and then they started recruiting people. So
Yeah.
like Commander Cody and all of them were like the last clone commanders that carried over, and they eventually ended up disliking like the way the Empire ran things.
It was 18
plus,
for sure.
plus it's inefficient to have a rapidly aging
It's a lot cheaper
military.
too. It's a lot cheaper just to get
It's a
people
lot
to
cheaper to
recruit people.
recruit and force people into joining the Empire too. It's like, all right, you can either join us or go work in the mines, and it's like, well, give me a blaster. At least
So it
I'll get
says
fed and
Solo-
get money.
Solo takes place 9 years after Revenge of the Sith, according to Wikipedia, and Rogue One is 9 years after Solo.
Here's the thing: Lawrence Kasdan wrote this movie, and I think in Lawrence Kasdan's
Are you
mind,
falling asleep?
no, I'm just sitting here. I think in Lawrence Kasdan's mind, Star Wars starts with Episode 4 and continues from that point on. I think John Kasdan understands that you got to have a couple prequel references, especially for doing this Crimson Dawn thing, which the Crimson Dawn name becomes really obvious later on when all is revealed. But I think that Lawrence is more or less just like, okay, here's kind of the backstory we all agreed on back then. Here's what I know. And John's like, well, how can I connect these wires essentially and make it function as if both of these worlds existed? That's my point of view anyway. It's a certain point of view, but I don't know what y'all.
All right, so
they
where
go to
we-
Kessel, and they're
They go to
basically
Kessel.
going to try to get the unrefined coaxium.
Which is an enslaved,
Well, they
like
met
a planet
with-
of slaves who mine
Spice.
spice, and it's
And
The spice
it's,
mines of
it's
Kessel.
mostly Wookiees and droids that are enslaved. I don't know if there were any other species that were enslaved.
There were humans.
Yeah, there
Were
was
there?
humans
Oh, okay.
there.
Oh yeah, there were, because then there's that whole, the door opens and they're like, oh crap, and then they get attacked.
So
they
L3
Yeah, L3 starts a droid revolution in the process of them getting the coaxium.
And then the droids release all the other slaves, and so
That's an awesome scene.
there's this
How did that one
huge.
that was the short one get on top of the...
That's what I wanted to know, how the Gonk. Do they have stairs somewhere, or
I
did a droid
think-
help them up?
I think a droid picked him up and put him on the console and let him stomp on
Instead
him.
of just
It's pretty comical.
bashing at the console themselves.
Anthony
Anthony Daniels.
Daniels cameos in as one of the droids in this scene.
Was he one of the Wookiees?
No,
Yeah,
he
he's a
was one of the
droid.
droids.
Somebody else was one of the Wookiees on.
Someone else was one of the Wookiees.
But yeah, he's the droid who goes freedom.
Freedom.
Like hits a button, and it looks like a protocol droid. It's very
and
rigid,
it's
humanoid.
very clearly Anthony Daniels, C-3PO voice. So everything's going on there. Chewie runs off, frees some Wookiees. Han grabs the coaxium, and then Chewie shows back up and helps them wheel it out. And then everyone's fighting and everyone's pushing to get back onto the Falcon.
There's also a nice little scene
And
where
Kira.
Han is basically saying goodbye to Chewie, where he's
Yeah.
like, "Okay, you're gonna go free your people. I hope we pass."
Because
cross
Chewie
paths."
sees other Wookiees getting like basically attacked by the security guards.
Right.
He's like he wants to go help, and it's really cool. He's
And it's
like,
kind of implied that that's part of his tribe,
Maybe.
because he and that one Wookiee share like a moment. He doesn't share a moment with any of the other Wookiees, but like the first one he hears and sees, he shares like a little head touch.
and he was
moment.
cool. He was kind of like he was like his staff, like here, like optimistic, like maybe I'll see you around. It's gonna be fun, you know. And you're like, dang, and then
And then Chewie and the Wookiee show
Chewie
up
makes the
just when
decision
Han meets
in
him.
because Han like let him go help him, and Chewie makes the decision and come back and join Han. You know, it was cool.
Now, I know you bring up what you think is another plot hole.
No,
and
I didn't say plot hole. I said it's a problem with the reshoots.
actually, it looks like,
Okay.
based off of from what
Or
I
you're
just
talking
saw
about
it
the
again
Kira
yesterday,
disappearing?
it looks
Yeah.
like she just took the
She
cape
takes
off.
everything off.
She's just wearing the same
You
outfit.
said that. I
but
saw
she
it the
took
next day,
cape
and I
off.
like analyzed it, and everything
Bro,
looked
she
fine.
still disappears onto the Falcon for a solid 5 minutes.
That's
She
what I'm
takes
saying.
off the cape. That's
Why?
it.
You see her do it.
You don't have to do a costume change
She
just
doesn't.
because you're
She
going
just
to go
takes
fight.
She just takes off the cape. That's it.
You're wrong.
I just watched it yesterday.
she also
I've
ran
still
in
seen
there.
it more than you.
She also ran in there to
Weeks
grab
ago.
grenades.
Dude, I
Because then she
promise
runs
you,
out with
that
grenades
scene
that she
is
didn't
fine.
have.
That scene is fine.
Because she has the cape over it, and then the other thing takes off, and then it's her plain romper type outfit.
That's it.
And you see
We-
her take both off.
Well, there's
Tim said, "Am I alone in thinking Am I alone in thinking the other Wookiees, the slaves, look like economical Planet of the Apes, cheap
They
costumes
did
and
look like
contests?"
monkeys.
They're younger.
He had a monkey face in that.
Younger.
they
that's
did
something
look
I
like
noticed.
they were probably much cheaper costumes that they had to like cobble together.
They're also younger.
Wow.
It might have been.
Wow,
a
where's that
reshoot.
voice coming from? I can't see anybody
Oh.
on screen.
Well, maybe if someone had their phone in portrait mode.
And
You can't do
capture
portrait mode in Facebook Live. I'm
Well, that's why
sorry.
Facebook sucks.
Hey man,
I'm,
don't.
You know he's listening.
Yeah, don't talk about the
I
Zuck.
personally think
The Zuck.
Twitter and Instagram are better.
The Zuck is gonna come for you.
I picture him. You know the room in Rap God where Shady's hooked up to all the TV monitors.
Yes.
That's how I picture Mark Zuckerberg.
No, he's from that episode of Vindicators in Rick and Morty. He's half unfeeling reptile and
He's
half
Crocky
unfeeling
Bot.
So
machine.
they're breaking out these spice mines, and there's a really cool scene where Lando he sees what's going on in the revolution and stuff, and so he does a really cool like pistol toss to Han, and they're just blasting away, and it was really sweet. And then L3 she bites it, gets shot pretty bad.
Well, it's because she pauses to like.
Yeah,
victory!
revolution! I'm finally doing what I wanted to do. Droids' rights, and
If you
then
have any
gets
questions,
blown to
man, we're
bits.
just doing a Facebook Live video.
Looking for like lanyards. You don't have those at all?
Yes, we do.
Should be on the
where's-
opposite side of that four-way
It's a
right
multi.
there. On the BB-8 one.
Cut this zoom one out, please.
Should be next to the wallets.
So L3 dies, but she
Yeah.
gets wounded really badly. So Lando goes and gets
But
Lando, then gets shot. in the
her
arm.
neural core. Yeah, Lando tries to save her, which is a really well shot.
It's like again, it's one of those continuous shots.
Ron
And he's
Howard's
jumping over,
great
sliding
at
under stuff.
action directing. I'll give him that.
You got to give it to Donald Glover in that scene too, though,
Oh,
because
yeah,
he
he's-
emotes and it's an action scene, and he is
giving it his all.
responding to everything that's going on around him, and he's obviously like hurt as to what's going on in the scene. So
And then he goes, he picks her up, she falls apart while he picks her up.
Yeah.
Like her legs just attach. And then so he gets shot, then Han runs back for him, and then Chewie runs back for Han and Lando. picks up
Picks
Lando.
both of them.
He's cradling Lando in his arms while Lando's wounded and holding dead L3. And then
Not dead yet.
Oh yeah, that's right. He gets back
Yeah,
on the
dying
ship.
L3.
L3's panicking like Bubba and Forrest or Ben Stiller and Tropic Thunder. And so, everything is light and cold and warm and dark, and she's just like, what's happening? And fades out. And then Lando's just like, no, I'm so sad right now.
And then he gives Han a look like, go.
Oh,
And
yeah,
then
go
you get
ahead,
out
'cause-
of-
Like, get us out of
they,
here.
they need to take off and get out of there.
and you see him walk in and you're like,
So they go into the Maelstrom, right?
That's the first time that has
Well,
ever flown
before
the
they go
Falcon.
into the Maelstrom, Hans flies the Falcon to where they need to go. They're like,
Right.
all right, we've only got so much time before this coaxium
We've
overheats.
basically got like 18 minutes.
And then, they go out, and then there's an Imperial blockade right there.
Well, it's just a single Star Destroyer that's just, and it's the
Blocking
size
this-
of the Maelstrom. It's this huge
Blocking
like,
the
thing.
tunnel all the way. And he's like, don't worry, I was an Imperial. They're not going to waste a TIE fighter on us. And then
Waste
3
the gun
TIE
on.
fighters.
More
plus-
than 3.
Oh,
There's like
it's-
a good,
Four TIE
like
fighters.
a bunch of TIE fighters.
Including the new heavy gun TIE fighter comes out to chase down the Falcon, and he's like, "Oh, we gotta go this way," and he's
my only question I've
Flips
ever
it.
had with
And he's
the
like,
Millennium
screw it,
Falcons-
we're going into the Maelstrom, and they're like, you what?
"You can't do that," and then he does it.
Well, you skipped the part.
Whoa.
No, this is before they. So, wait, what part did we skip?
Yeah, what part
You
did?
skipped, well, the L3 stuff.
Okay, so that comes, yeah. So they go into the Maelstrom, and
It's like
Lando's
as they're going into it.
But
yeah, he's like,
then
we
it-
have no idea where we're going.
But before that, they're trying to fight off the TIE fighters. So he does the cool wing trick, knocks one of them over. Beckett's shooting at TIE fighters, and then the heavy TIE fighter we see, which is giving
I was
them the
gonna get
roughest
to
of the
that.
time, shoots the cannon, knocks out the cannon, and then Beckett goes,
Well, it sends an electrical surge through the thing, too. He's like,
That really hurt my thumbs.
"Ah, lost the cannon."
lost the turret.
One of my questions
I
I've always
really hurt
had
my thumbs.
was, like, all the Millennium
Josh's
Falcons-
favorite line.
That was my favorite part.
all the Millennium
How did you
Falcon
not
scenes
like
in the
it?
Cockpit, it's always bothered me, like when he does the flip. So is he not? Is there like a gravity thing in the Millennium Falcon that keeps people grounded?
No, it's like when you put a ball in a bucket, and then you do this. Like the ball
But it's
stays
like,
there.
but
but
if
the
he's
ball
flying
out.
like this, how was he just not falling out of the seat? I just always get confused about that. He's not buckled up ever.
They're also in space.
Yeah, they're in space, dude.
That's just not enough.
There is no upside down in space.
Well, do you know when you put, like, when they did the science experiment with the water in the bucket, and then you put...
No, I get
this,
the
and water would stay
centrifugal
in the
force
bucket.
of
Right.
gravity. I get that. I'm just saying, like, Lando's back there holding L3 and he's just fine.
Bro, they are in space.
They're in
They have
space.
artificial gravity in their ship.
That's why I just asked at the very beginning. I said, is there something in Millennium Falcon that's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
gravity?
Of course. Why else wouldn't they be able to walk
all I'm
around
asking.
any
That's all
other
I'm
time in any other film?
That's what I'm asking.
My only issue, and I know this is like an early filmmaking thing versus a modern filmmaking thing, but when you look at Empire, when they're in the cockpit, everything's this flat, even like TV lighting almost, where there's just a single beam of light. But in this movie, everything's all shiny and flashy and
Brand new.
brand new, and
Falcon's newer.
Well, the Falcon's newer. It's not all.
yeah, I know,
beat
but
the crap
it
out.
doesn't really look that different. It looks
I
the
think they
exact
do,
same
too.
when we see it in Empire.
What did Tim ask?
The cockpit.
Two things. Why I think he meant one in the hell. When they land on Enfys Nest planet after the Kessel Run, do they walk on foot to Dryden Voss's skyscraper ship? I didn't get that. Also, what is it with the Falcon cannon always getting busted in these movies? Does Disney have a grudge against the Falcon's cannon?
See, that's just like a hard on that Star Wars has for scenes like that though, because the opening of Rogue One, Krennic's ship lands like look at 6
Way
miles
off,
out of the farm, plenty of time to escape,
Right.
but it's just a weird drama and tension thing they do for Star Wars. Do they not know they have spaceships? Is my question every time I see something like that.
Maybe it's like a I don't know, safety thing for the ship. There's no risk of it blowing up. Maybe it's away from any danger.
Yeah, but the Falcon landed in like a spot that was like
No, I get that. I'm
perfectly,
saying,
like,
I'm saying in
circular
Rogue
for
One,
an episode
Imperial wise,
four.
you're going to capture this ship.
Well,
They don't know what to expect.
when-
Maybe they
Get
don't
back
know
to the
anything
Maelstrom. The Maelstrom is my favorite part of the entire movie. I want a giant, like BB-8 Snoke throne room sized creature. The Maelstrom creature?
Oh, that'd be dope.
The Kraken.
Is that what they call it?
No, that's what I've coined it as. Just because it's what it. I mean, what else would you call it?
Space
it's
Kraken.
It's the Kraken. So they eliminate the turret. Han does this maneuver with the Falcon that he says he learns from the best street racer
Paul Walker.
Who died?
on Kessel.
Yeah, basically the Paul Walker of the Star Wars.
Who also died while doing this
Paul
maneuver.
Walker's friend, sorry.
And so basically, he tells Chewie to drop the landing gear when they're trying to kill this last TIE fighter. And
they're
he
gonna,
does.
like, drift.
He drifts the Falcon. The landing gear is literally buckling under the Falcon.
It
They-
takes out the front landing strut.
Yeah, it takes out the front landing strut, and then did the TIE fighter crash or did it get shot?
Yeah,
I don't
No,
know.
a bunch
Got
of stuff got shot
Yeah,
up
it
like
shattered
off the ground.
all the crystalline
Oh, yeah,
crap off the asteroid or comet or whatever. They
Yeah,
crashed
it
into.
shattered a bunch of stuff. Some of the stuff on the Falcon broke. A bunch of the underpanels got scraped off.
Don't
and
call
then
them icebergs. They call them something.
Carbon
like icebergs.
bergs.
Carbon bergs.
yeah, and then they just kind of like out of it and make it out, and they live.
It's pretty sweet.
And
See,
then
that's what was cool about the scene is it felt like a pirate scene in space. So you actually feel like the space pirateness of
Yeah.
Han in the game.
and then that's when they run into the Kraken.
Super awesome. Because you see they're going to this like dark spot, some lightning, and you're
Yeah,
like,
see some light and they're
wow.
like, what the hell is that?
And then they turn on the light, and then you just see.
Yeah,
this
they get their
eye
eye beams
open.
on finally.
And this eye just opens in
And
front
that
of
thing
them.
is huge.
huge, enormous. They all go, ah!
And then
And then Scooby-Doo noises start the doop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doop. And they start like turning the wheel really fast.
they fly through the tentacles of the Kraken. And then they see the maw of the Maelstrom, which is this giant black hole.
It's a gravity well, sir.
Interstellar.
What do you think a black hole is? Anyway, they see this black hole that they call the gravity well, which they also call the maw, and then the Kraken is chasing
Your
them,
maw's a gravity well.
trying to eat them. Han is like, "Hey,
You gotta bait it in there.
Han is like, "Hey, is this the control for the escape pod on the front?" And Lando's like, "Why, yes, it is." And Han goes, "Cool," and fires it at.
Lando's like, why did you do that?
and then the Kraken
Because we
chases
have to make
and
it
eats
look
that.
like the rest of the movies.
Yes.
So the Kraken chases out to eat the thing instead of them.
The plot told me to.
As they try to escape. So then they're trying to escape the Maelstrom. The maw of the Maelstrom. They see their exit point to get them to the planet they're trying to get to, but they can't because
They don't
they're
have the power.
They're getting pulled in. So they J.J.
Shorty
Abrams
wasn't doing
Yeah,
his
they
job.
Star Trek 2009 it and throw the red matter into the warp core
and shoot out of it.
and blast away from the Romulans.
And by red matter into the warp core, they put some of the coaxium into.
It's
rod-
literally the
rod
exact
coaxium.
same thing as Star Trek 2009.
It is. They
That's the-
to escape a black hole, and so basically,
Thank you, Christian.
you just see
The
super.
maw's also pulling the skin off of the creature.
Yeah, we see.
Yeah, that
we
was
see
really
it.
Oh, yeah.
We see it physically come off of the creature, and then the skeleton would just sink into this
Well, that
abyss.
that was a cool thing about not to like backtrack way the hell back, but Lady Proxima was an actual puppet. Did we even talk about Lady Proxima?
Yeah, we did real quick for a
Just
second.
very slightly. She's this weird centipede puppet thing, and
In the trailer, I thought it was going to be a Dianoga.
that would have been cool.
That's what I thought was going to happen.
But then Han shatters some light, and it like gobbles her face. There's a lot of gruesome, like graphic skin damage happening in this movie to different
So
creatures.
they put the coaxium in, and you're like, oh, they're gonna launch out,
And they do.
And so they fall back, like, and Lano's like, oh, shit.
It basically kills the Falcon
and then
for a
And then
second.
it goes,
And then it
blasts out,
Punch it, Chewie.
breaking like all the barriers. It's sweet. It's awesome.
And then he's like, okay, Chewie, when I tell you to hit the hyperspace button, you punch it, right? And Kira's like, what the hell do you think you're doing? And he's like,
Remember that thing we did?
remember that Burt Reynolds move that nearly killed us?
Yeah, I remember it did work.
The
Well, this
alley on
time it's
Kessel,
gonna.
they were like sideways.
And then he said, "Punch it, Chewie," and they fire right through, right before the carbon bergs crush each other.
Well, no, they're like, they still are about to. But yeah, they hit light speed and like that.
Yeah, right.
That was
Has
awesome.
Has there always been a delay before it goes into light speed?
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's like
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I kept getting like,
Remember,
like 2009 Star Trek
There's always blurry.
flashbacks where
Remember, like in the cockpits, it was like blurry for a second,
Oh, yeah.
and then they go, yeah.
And then they land on the planet where they're supposed to meet Dryden and get
So,
the quacks.
they're-
and
Here's
the
the
Falcon
question.
is trashed. It's so great.
Here's a question that we had. So Tim said, okay, so you rush the hell out of everything on Kessel with the explosive blue goo, then casually walk on foot to take care of your business. They didn't do that.
They unloaded the canisters
As
first.
soon as they landed on this planet, remember that's the planet that they had to get to so they could refine the what's it called?
Coaxium.
Coaxium. So and it was overheating the whole time and blah blah blah. So
As soon as they put it into that
they
thing,
landed.
it's fine.
Yeah, they landed exactly where they needed to land.
Also,
Even though they were on foot.
Han was screaming over the radio
Yeah.
at the control there, saying,
ready,
"Hey, we
we're
need
coming."
to land immediately. We have to get this stuff unloaded right now. It's about to blow."
I like in hindsight, like in that scene, the guy's like, and you're just like, what the hell is he doing?
Yeah, he's just like.
And you're like,
okay.
later, you're like, oh, that's why he's doing
Yeah.
that. Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
And then
Like,
we immediately see
sending
him
messages must be a
unload this
hassle
stuff,
for these people.
and putting it down. So the coaxium is
It's a
getting
long
refined.
time ago. They don't have texting yet.
Apparently,
The coaxium's getting refined, and then that's when everything's like kind of quiet, and everyone's like, "Whoa, hold up!" And that's when Enfys Nest shows up, and it's like, "Oh, by the way, we're actually good guys."
yeah.
And Enfys Nest is
A girl.
A lady.
And she's awesome.
Oh my god.
Enfys Nest is awesome.
Enfys Nest
And
is
I
awesome.
really like how once they start talking to her, it's basically revealed that her mother was the original, or maybe not the original, but held the mantle before her. And
It's like a Dread Pirate
Well,
Roberts kind of
right,
mantle.
Levi was when he was in here earlier was telling me that she's possibly like Mandalorian because she talks about how when her mom wore the mask and
Right.
stuff like that.
is
So
it the girl from Clone Wars?
No, that's not Bo-Katan.
well,
What about the mom?
Levi thinks that her mother is Bo-Katan.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about.
Because Bo-Katan's still alive at that point. She was in Rebels. And this point, that all takes place after.
You're wrong, Levi.
It's not. Yeah, she's
How
not
does
Bo-Katan.
Enfys Nest helmet not only change her voice, but
The helmet.
also change her accent? Am I right?
Well, it changes her voice in the most obvious way of "that's a lady" I've ever like heard in film. I'm sorry. For me, the voice modulator, as soon as I heard it, I was like, "Yeah, that's a chick."
Well, we all thought it was.
Well,
I mean,
that was the rumor beforehand.
I
but
thought it was a dude.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know, just a voice changer.
she was tough as hell, man, especially on that train robbery.
Well, I like it later
Or
too
when it's
when
like
they
more
do the
time, I thought it
whole
was a guy.
when they pull the ruse over on Dryden Voss. She comes in and has that weird like energy staff thing.
Right.
It was so cool. Man, that was so
It's so cool, man.
So cool, man.
Oh man, I was
Gore.
hoping Grievous and Gort were gonna show up in this one, man.
We got to start wrapping it up, guys. I'm at like 10% better.
Okay,
So-
so Enfys Nest shows up and Han's like, I got 30 people on that ship. I give them the word and they make their move, and then Lando flies off with the ship.
Yeah, immediately.
Lando's just like,
yeah.
nah, I'm
Lando
done,
was very
Tim.
much done.
Lando's
He's tired. He even told Han, he's like, I don't want to see you.
Well, what's funny is
Ever again.
he's like, I'll be waiting on my ship for my payment and my quarters. Bye. And then as soon as Enfys Nest shows up, he's like,
Nope.
I'm not getting paid. He just flies like this whole boondoggle has just destroyed my ship and broken my arm.
And killed
I
my
want to go
companion.
and kill my companion,
I'm
and then we had to
leaving.
upload her neural core into the brain of the ship.
Oh, we never touched on that.
Yeah, so when they go on the Maelstrom, they're like, our GPS screwed. We got no service.
Well, they had no navigation.
So they pull out the brain because they established earlier that L3 has a really good navigational system inside her.
That's the reason Lando has her as his companion.
And that's why he never wipes her memory. So when
He threatens to, but he never does.
after L3 bites it, and they've already killed the TIE fighters, they're trying to get out at this point. They pull out L3's brain and hook it up to the Falcon.
And
It's
anytime you hear the
navigating.
Falcon make that noise, that's
Pretty sweet.
L3's brain, essentially, interfacing with the
All right,
Falcon.
so they land on the planet. They're refining the coaxium.
They get it refined.
They get it refined. They
gonna
make
go
a
in with Dryden
negotiation.
They bring it to Dryden Voss.
Dude,
And,
Enfys Nest was
but
like joining our
before
side.
that,
Before that homeboy left.
well, they're like, we're going to team up with Enfys Nest and fight Dryden.
And then-
because these people have been damaged by the Crimson Dawn and the Empire and the Hutt cartel and so on and so forth. And Beckett's like,
Yeah,
nope,
not about that.
not about that. This guy could kill me with just a look. So screw it. Y'all are on your own. And then they go, and then Dryden's like, well, my little birdie has told me. And Kira must have said something in the 2 seconds that they looked at each other. And he's like, no, not Kira. Kira apparently is a traitor as well.
She has a soft spot.
She has a soft spot. Beckett, on the other hand, well, it's funny. He gets on the walkie-talkie and he's like, "Can you come in here and enjoy this, please?" And then,
So Beck comes in and Soul's like, "Dang."
and he's like, "Wow, this looks like the real thing."
But earlier, Beckett had, this big long speech about never trust anybody.
Yeah, the most obvious "I'm
yeah.
going to betray you" speech ever written, but it's still great.
Okay, so then there's a big fight, blah blah
Yeah,
blah.
and then they're like, well, if this is fake coaxium, then the real coaxium's out there. And they open the containers and they're empty.
So the
So
real
that
Coaxium
means
is actually in the meeting room.
with
so
Beckett,
Beckett does the most baller move ever. Looks around the room, kills Dryden's associates. And he's just like,
kills everybody.
He's
in
like,
there.
yeah.
yeah.
He's like,
Dryden's
I'm
like,
out.
what the hell are you doing? He's like, well, I'm thinking, and I prefer to be the only one holding the gun when I'm thinking. So
he takes the coaxium and Chewie and leaves.
Like,
Yeah.
Should we come and leave? We're
Beck,
out of here.
Han and Kira kill Dryden.
Pretty cool little scene.
And
Cool
then
action
Han
scene.
leaves.
well, Han and Kira, like, there's enough here to start our life like we always talked about. And
She's like, "Yep, I'm right behind you. Go
yeah,
ahead and go
save
catch
Chewie
Beckett."
and get the fuel. I'm right behind you.
Uh-oh.
And then
Uh-oh.
she
She
shuts
locks
the
it
comical mall gates around the windows.
Spoiler.
And speaking of mall,
Spoiler.
she puts on her hologram, beep, boop, beep, which apparently Dryden Boss has the most sophisticated hologram. Because usually holograms are just blue, but this one has the ability to show red. And Dark Maul shows up, and he says some stuff about the Crimson Dawn and come to Dathomir.
It's
And
Darth
then-
Maul. He's back. It's awesome.
It's Darth
Even though
Maul.
he was already back. If you watch
Like
Clone Wars.
5 different times. And then you're like, okay, that was kind of a cool cameo. Then for no reason, he says, and Kira, and he stands up, does one of these, and turns on his lightsaber as a hologram. Again, for no reason.
Hater.
Hater.
It was really cool.
No reason to pull it out in a hologram.
He's just trying to be menacing, even though he doesn't need it.
You know how he could have been menacing? They could have had his cloak on the whole time, and then he could have stood up at the end and, oh, it's Darth Maul, even though we already knew that.
Anyway, outside of that, Han goes to confront Beckett, and Beckett's like, look, now I'm going to teach you the most important lesson of all.
Bam.
Bam!
And then he gets shot in the chest by Han.
It's like, "Oh, good shot.
And they even asked
Good
Kazan
job."
Han
in a recent
shot
interview,
first.
they're
Han
like,
shot
what do you
first.
think? And
Hashtag
Kazan's like,
shot first.
he was the only one who ever shot. Like, what do you...
Han shot first.
Han shot first.
Yep. So that was the lesson. Shoot first, never trust anybody. And all in all, oh wait, almost forgot. And then,
Well, then they give the coaxium to Infus Nest. They give Warwick Davis a single line.
and then,
And then
And then it's just like, oh, Han, here's a little tube for you.
here's a little tube.
Coaxium.
And it's the same. It's like, it's similar to the one he had on Corellia when he was growing up. So it's like,
It's basically the same thing he had at the beginning.
yeah, and it's like a little, oh, you've come
Full
full
circle.
circle, basically, so on and so forth. And then Chewie's like, where to next, old pal, basically.
And they
and
go-
Han's like, I heard about Jabba the Hutt. No. So they go and
Heard
get
about
they
yeah.
go and get the Falcon first.
they go. He uses the coaxium to buy into another Sabacc tournament, where he then
Beats up the Lando again.
barely beats Lando in a Sabacc game.
Because he stole Lando's secret
He's-
card up
Alright,
his sleeve.
so Lando goes to play and he's like,
Oops.
Out of something you need there, pal.
And then he wins the Falcon for real.
that
That
was also really good.
Fairsies and squaresies twice.
Yep. And then Han and Chewie go off to very likely Tatooine.
Yeah,
because
Beckett mentioned a gangster on Tatooine,
putting
which
together a crew.
Shot.
Putting together
which
a big
Kira
crew.
mentioned the Hutt cartel at the very beginning of the movie,
Yep.
but maybe he doesn't necessarily know that he's a Hutt.
Anyway,
So-
But
it's very good. I give it 8 out of 10. It's one of my favorite Star Wars movies of all time at this point.
Give it
Alex,
I give it an 8.5. Honestly,
Really?
It's my 5th favorite Star Wars movie.
I'm somewhere between an 8.5 and 9, somewhere in there. So
I give it a solid 8, but like a 9 to me is like some of the greatest movies of all time.
So
I know you can't give anything a 10.
So Solo's like a top 5 for me right now, but like I'm not arguing maybe potential top 3, 4. You know, the more I watch it.
Thank you, Tim.
Stuff, so.
All right, guys.
It's
Well,
definitely in my top 3.
I think that's about all we got today. Check in with us later. Make sure you share this video if you liked it. And you guys got anything else?
Well, we'll see you later. We'll see
May
you
the
another
Force be
time.
with you.
Live
May
long
the
and
Force
prosper.
be with all of you.
Peace out, guys.